Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan and welcome back to Superhero Rewind Unscripted. Tonight I am finally going to do another collection update, which is a thing I haven't done in a really long time, and I've never done it as thoroughly as I plan to do this evening. I will try to make this as not boring as humanly possible, but we're going to go through movies. We're going to go through all of this, and please forgive the late start time. I've been monkeying around with this, trying to get the lighting right. There's some glare. Hopefully, you guys will at least be able to see the stuff that I'm trying to show you. I'm going to be kind of guerrilla styling it tonight, taking a look at comments on my phone, because the way this room is set up, it was going to be too much of a hassle to like bring my whole production over to this side of the room, and I didn't want to just work with stacks of discs. I wanted to kind of be able to show you guys the collection and just pull everything off of shelves as I go along. If you have questions about anything as we go, of course, as always, feel free to leave a comment, and I will tackle as many of those as I can. Please excuse the more echoey acoustics over here on this side of the bunker, and I'm going to go ahead and just open this and make sure that I can see what folks are saying. Hi there, Ryder. Hi, Adam March. How's it going? Ryder, is Cap short or is that shelf tall? I'm going to go with the diplomatic answer and say yes. Hope you guys can see me okay, hear me okay. We're going to go ahead and get right into it here in a second. I don't know if this is going to be one stream or two. If I can get through this whole thing in a couple of hours, then of course that will be it. I don't really suspect I'll be able to do that. I'm going to go as lickety-split, as rapid-fire as I am capable of going. But again, I'll answer questions as I go. I'll have a little more to say about certain things, less to say about other things. So let me just give you a real quick overview. My superhero comic book movie collection now is 300 movies strong, and probably some, I actually haven't counted TV shows, it's at least 50. I would imagine, and I have been making some changes to the collection since I got it back behind me. The whole backdrop now is this collection. I've gotten kind of invigorated again to start rolling on this again. I was behind on keeping up with new movies. There's still some stuff that I'm missing, but I'm pretty well caught up on more recent stuff. I haven't gotten Doctor Strange 2 yet, because there's a steelbook that I'm kind of back and forth on that I might go ahead and get, and I haven't decided which edition of that I'm going to grab yet. So that I've not gotten, but I have gotten Thor Love and Thunder already, and some other more recent things, and then a bunch of box sets where I've kind of upgraded from DVD finally to Blu-ray, and you'll notice that a lot of the collection is DVD before it's Blu-ray. I'll talk about why as we go along, but I am slowly, finally starting to upgrade some of that. Certain things I will feel the need to do that with, and others I won't, or I'll find myself kind of prioritizing things just depending on movies that I find really cool editions of, or things that I personally really care about that I have a not great version of that I want to finally update. And I've got a big stack toward the bottom that I'll show you of at some point of box sets and movies that I'm finally going to get rid of because I either have upgraded things or I am upgrading. So there's actually a few titles, particularly in the TV department, that you would have seen if I wasn't cleaning house that I'm going to soon go ahead and upgrade finally. We've got really inexpensive box sets coming out for complete seasons of series, of television. And I had like a season of Gotham, a season of Flash, a season of Supergirl and of Legends, and I'm not collecting those season by season anymore. I want to thank DJ Martinez for partly for getting me to that place. He bought me the Smallville Blu-ray box set last year at Christmas, and during a time where it was hard to get. So I want to thank him once again for getting me that. Total treat to finally have that, and that is more gettable now. Suddenly I'm seeing it at Best Buy and other box stores for $100 and online everywhere for $100. But it was really neat that I was able to get it even before it was easy to get, when people had kind of bought it up already. And I was looking at my old seasons of Smallville. I've got them all down here, and I'm going to go ahead and finally get rid of those. And I said when I reviewed that Blu-ray set that I felt kind of weird about that, because I liked the inserts a lot, but they take up so much space, and how much do I really look at those inserts? And I just don't feel like I need both, and I'm trying not to set a precedent for myself where I've got to be a completionist, because I'm afraid if I have 2 or 3 editions of the same movie or box set, I'm going to get too collector-y, and I'm going to find myself wanting every version of a thing, and I want to kind of stay away from that. I'll mention real quick about a collection that I'm wanting to start building soon, and Dylan, I'll go ahead and start getting to things here in a second. A collection that I want to build soon that would break that rule, but only for the one thing, and that is Batman 89. I think it would be really fun and kind of funny to own every version I can get my hands on in every kind of medium of one movie, and I want to do that with 89. I think it would be really cool to get the laser disc, to get all of the box sets and the Blu-rays and the DVD versions. And part of the reason I wanted to do that is because I actually have the beta tape back here. Brandon found this for me a few years ago. And that's a weird random thing to have. And I've still got my VHS of this from when I was a kid somewhere. It's actually not back here right now. But once I got this, I found myself going, it might be fun to build that collection. So that's a thing I want to do at some point. But anyway, let's go ahead and get right into this. So I'm going to start with the big, exciting, and welcome everybody watching live. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching and listening after the fact. This one will be a little bit harder to just listen to, of course. So I would suggest that you take a look at my face on YouTube and actually see what I'm showing you. But hopefully this will be somewhat listenable if that's all you're doing. But anyway, thanks for watching live. Thanks for watching tomorrow and after that. Recently, like I said, started buying up a lot, or at least a few box sets that I had been wanting to for a long time, and I finally got my hands. I'm going to start with the craziest, most exciting stuff first, I think. Partly because it's new and I didn't do a review by itself. I kind of thought about doing that. But I got the Marvel, the MCU Phase 1 and Phase 2 Special Edition box sets. And I got a really nice price on these. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay when I go to the other side of the room. But these, and you guys, a lot of you guys will be familiar with these. I wanted to get this back when it came out and decided it was just a little too pricey, and didn't end up pulling the trigger on it back then. And for a while, it was really, really difficult to get, and these got really expensive. And I was able to get Phase 1 and Phase 2. I'll pull them both down and try not to drop the Power Stone. These are really complex and ridiculous. So this is what the Phase 2 set looks like. So they went really all out with these. And I got lucky and got both of these together in one auction for less than $200. And I could not pass that up. So I'll go through these real quick. A lot of you guys will probably already know what's in these and what they look like. These are used, but in pretty good shape. My Phase 2 set didn't come in the original box. This one did, but, or is that vice versa? Actually, I think this didn't come in the original box, but the Phase 2 one did. I don't know that I'm even going to hang on to that box, so it's not really a big deal to me. But this is supposed to look like the suitcase from Avengers that the Tesseract comes in, and then you pop it open, and inside, it's just so elaborate. You see the Tesseract and the keypad to get into the Tesseract. This is supposed to glow. I don't have batteries in it right now because it uses a type of battery I just don't have on hand, and I'm not even totally sure what that is. I just got this last week, and I haven't really had a chance to mess around with it too much. So at some point, I will, of course, do that. I'm suspecting it still works. But anyway, it looks like there's wires even inside the suitcase. And so I don't know if this itself does anything or if that's just for show. But then the discs themselves are on either side, almost like their dossiers, along with the physical dossiers that you get that come with a lot of like reproductions of props and things. And it's really neat. It's just silly collector stuff that people like me go nuts for. And the discs themselves come in these small cases that are kind of flimsy. I don't know how else you would do this, and the presentation of them is real minimalistic. I like how minimal the actual art on these is, more than I like the discs themselves, although I guess, and this has been a while, but I guess these days, more often than not, you'll get these kinds of discs before you'll get any like movie art or anything on them. I kind of miss that, but it's not the end of the world. And like I said, I can't even remember if Phase 1 and Phase 2 did any of that with those sets. Anyway, I have, by the way, taken all of my old Blu-rays and DVDs from Phase 1 and 2 down, and I'm going to go ahead and probably sell those, because again, I don't feel the need to have it twice. Even though it is going to be kind of weird to look up here and not see 4 Avengers movies, but only 2, because the other Avengers movies are in this thing way up here. But I didn't have any real special, box sets for those, or steelbooks or anything like that. But yeah, you've got the kind of flimsy cardboard cases, so you got to sort of be careful that you don't mess those up. And there's a special extra disc with features here that I have not had a chance to get into yet. And I have been sort of like with comics, in a weird way, more of a collector with these than a watcher or a reader, kind of. Like, when I get into a superhero rewind, I'm getting into all the special features and finally kind of going down the rabbit hole of whatever cool stuff is on the discs that I have. But a lot of newer stuff comes out, and I just don't get the time to listen to the commentaries and watch the featurettes and all of that. So when we get to more recent stuff, like, and I say recent, 3 years ago now, Infinity War and Endgame, I just took Endgame out of the shrink wrap this afternoon. I have a really cool Target special edition for that. I never even looked at what the booklet inside looked like. I just tended to buy these things when they came out and would put them on a shelf and kind of forget about them. So some of this will be maybe the first time I've looked at some of this as well. But I don't want to spend too much time on these, so I'm not going to get all of this stuff out, but I just want to say that the other set looks like this. Like I said, real elaborate. This looks almost screen-worthy, this prop. It's really cool. And this looks really neat on a shelf. It almost doesn't even matter what it is. Anybody that knows Guardians will go, oh, cool, you have a replica of that. Well, yes, but also, I've got the discs on the other side. And isn't that neat? And I think it's kind of clever where the discs sit, because you take one look at this and you go, well, how in the world are there even Blu-rays in that? So that's neat. These look exactly like the other set, so they're consistent that way, which is neat. It sucks that there's not Phase 3 and there's not going to be Phase 4 for these. Instead of that, they elected to put out one big Infinity Saga set that was $700 when it came out. And it's really funky looking. I don't care for the look of it at all. It's kind of slanted. It's got, I think, regular-sized Blu-ray cases is what it looks like. I haven't seen one in person. I've just seen pictures of it. You can look this up, of course. And they kind of sit in slant ways, and then it's got a big plastic transparent top that goes on it. It's, whoa, pardon me, sorry guys. It's really impractical, and I don't know where you'd set it, and if you already invested in these, you wouldn't really want that, because you already have these, and most people don't like to double dip with Blu-rays and DVDs, so that's really irritating, and it sucks that they didn't keep going with this presentation. The only thing I don't like about the Phase 2 set over the Phase 1 is everything fits in this suitcase in the Phase 1 set, and Phase 2 comes with another envelope that's like a, for your eyes only kind of thing. This is for S.H.I.E.L.D., and this one is I'm actually not sure what this is supposed to come from. It's in Russian, so I guess it's a Winter Soldier thing. And it comes with just like with the first set, and I'll open one or two of these up in a second, but it has all of these. I'm dropping everything. It has all of these props, like prop replica things from various movies, and if you're familiar with them, of course, you know where they come from. That's from Iron Man 3. Here is a PIM Technologies security badge, etc., etc. Some of these things are like practical use stuff that you could actually do something with. There's a temporary tattoo in one of these for the 10 rings, I think, and stuff like that. I don't plan to use any of these things, of course. I'm just going to hang on to them. But it's crazy how above and beyond they went with all of this. This is just a thing of sticky notes. That's all it is. And it says Stark Industries on the front because, I don't know if you can read that, because that was in a movie. It's really neat. But like I said, the only thing I don't like about the Phase 2 set is that this doesn't fit anywhere in it. So if you have the Phase 1 set, you can just put it in a suitcase. But if all you bought was the Phase 2 set, because maybe you're a big Guardians fan and you just wanted that replica of the Power Stone, then you would have to just set this underneath it or something. But it's fun that it's got that cord to put it back together. And then the suitcase for the Phase 1 set, and we're just doing a review of this whole thing. I don't have anything else this elaborate, so nothing else will take this long. But anyway, you've got, I don't know how else to do this except just to show it to you. You got all these dossiers of characters from each movie in Phase 1. There's one for Iron Man, there's one for Hulk, etc., etc. We'll pop open the Tony Stark one and I'll show it to you. I'm trying not to fold or crinkle any of this stuff. And again, I haven't gotten real deep into this stuff myself, but I've opened it up a couple times now. It's got blueprints for, in like initial drawings for the Mach 1 suit, which is cool. I think my favorite thing in, so far from what I've seen in these files is the napkin that's got the coffee ring on it. Anyway, I love stuff like this. It's really fun. I'm glad to finally have my hands on it. And I'm excited to go through the extra disc on these, which I'm sure a lot of you guys already know what's on those. But I'm going to let myself be surprised when I finally take the plunge and look at that stuff. And by the way, I've been watching a lot more special features for things lately. I bought... We'll get to this a little bit later, or possibly in another video, the way this is going. I got the Blu-rays finally for Batman Animated Series. I cannot get this to close. This is the kind of thing that always happens on camera. I don't know which direction these are supposed to go. So you know what? I'm just going to deal with this later. Because I don't want to mess up anything. But I got the Blu-rays. Oh, maybe that's not what was stopping it. I'm not sure what was stopping it. For Batman Animated Series and for Superman, and a couple other things, and I've been going through some of the newer featurettes that they put out for those. Okay, somebody earlier, before we started, asked what my favorite thing in my collection is, and I might have to wait and tell you when I'm done, because I'm not 100% sure right now. I'm starting to lean toward these together, of course. It's hard not to say that now that I have them, particularly the Phase 2 set, but I haven't delved, like I said, enough into that yet to say that for sure. Before that, one of my favorite things was the next thing I'm going to show you, which is the Turtle Van collection for the 1987 Ninja Turtle show. And I really like this presentation. It's nice and simple. Some folks probably won't care for the way this is put together, where all the discs are just sitting on top like this. But I think it's really cool that they just figure out a way to get all of this in a Turtle Van. They took, I think, just the original... No, they didn't, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's been a while since I've looked at these. So, I was going to say, it at first glance, it looks like they took all of the discs from the original season sets for these and just threw them all in here. And I think the art might all be the same. But the nice thing is the discs are all numbered for this set. So, Season 1, which I've reviewed on this show, and it was only 5 episodes, it all fits on one disc. And that's Disc 1. But then when you get into Season 2, that is Disc 2. and that's really nice. This also comes with an episode guide that fits underneath. Not real snug. I actually felt the need to hang on to... How long have I had this set? At least 4 or 5 years, probably. This came, and this is, by the way, not the most expensive thing to get your hands on. I think it used to be a little bit more readily available, but I still see it online quite a bit for about $90 or $100. It's 10 seasons of television. If you've got kids, and even if you didn't grow up with this show, they'll probably enjoy it, and it's a bunch of television if you need extra stuff for your kids to watch. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I felt the need to keep this plastic piece just to house this, and this might be a frequent theme as we move along with the collection. Stuff that extra special sets come with that's impractical, that they didn't give you a nice way to stick in it or keep with it in any way. That can be very annoying, but I do appreciate that it's got an episode guide in it, and the art in the front of this is a little strange, but whatever. And so you'll know what episodes come on which discs. There's no synopses or anything, but at least if you look up an episode, or what episode you want to watch, you can figure out what disc it's on without too much trouble. And that's not always a given with TV box sets, as we'll see later on when we get to Smallville and possibly some other stuff. So that's one of my favorite sets. It just looks really cool on a shelf. Get this back up here. I feel like I'm making an episode of Reading Rainbow or something right now, or like I'm Mr. Rogers, and we're going on a field trip together. Let's see what folks are saying in the comments here. See if anybody else owns these Marvel sets. If I can get my chat up here. Real Bumbles, the DVD transfer, not so much, but the set is cool. If he's talking about the Ninja Turtle set, I'm not sure. My apologies for the bots that are popping in here. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Hold on, folks. Okay, moving right along. So this is... I just bought this because I found it real cheap when it came out, and I thought it was silly. This is also a box set for Ninja Turtles, but this is for the dreaded 2014 and 2016 movies. I say that. I think this was for the second movie, Out of the Shadows. I think it had a copy of the first movie with it. I can't remember. I actually took the discs out of this and just put them on the... on the shelf, because they come in the regular Blu-ray cases, and this is just a... this is just a metal case that it came with. Looks kind of like a popcorn tin or something, and it's got kind of a fun little insert to look like the inside of the van. Nothing like as cool as the other one, and you might think it's weird that I would even want this because I don't love those movies, but it's fun just to get these special, weird, oddly shaped, impractical sets. And so I went ahead and grabbed that. Like I said, it was crazy cheap. Here is the Deluxe Dark Knight Trilogy Collector's Edition. This is limited, they say. I have number 124,326 of 141,500. So, I mean, it's limited, but, it's not real limited. I guess limited enough given how popular these movies are. This is another one of those kind of impractical boxes that doesn't sit on a shelf great and has a lot of totally frivolous stuff in it. This comes with an art book. I haven't looked through this in a long time. It comes with a message from Christopher Nolan. And then you keep going down through it, and this is again, the name of the day is Elaborate. or the word of the day is elaborate. It comes with a big book that has all the discs in it. And one thing I don't love about having these things, of course, as opposed to the regular cases, is just, it's kind of a pain to pull this whole thing out to watch a movie. You gotta get it all out of the box. You have to try not to accidentally crush or squish anything any piece of paper or anything that came in the box. And then you get to look at all the cool stuff as you go through, but I just want to watch the movie. So sometimes I want to keep the originals, and sometimes I don't really feel the need to do that. It kind of just depends on what it is. I guess for these, maybe it would make sense to keep the old ones just so that I don't have to get those out every time. But then it's extra space on my shelves as I continue to expand this. So that's why I'm considering going ahead and getting rid of those. The Begins and Dark Knight sets, I keep saying sets, Blu-rays, because I don't think any of that's DVD for me anymore. But the Blu-ray boxes I have for those I'm hanging on to because each of them is a cool addition of its own, and I like them, and I had them before I got this, and so that's an exception that I'm making. I'm a big Batman guy. I don't feel too weird about that, but this is a really beautiful set. If this was all you got, if it was just this book, that would be cool enough, I think. I guess it sits on a shelf a little bit better in the box, maybe, even though it would be hard to fit it in anywhere if you didn't just put it on top like I did. And then, if memory serves, this has like a replica of the bat in the bottom or something. Oh yeah, that's what it is. I'm not going to pull these out because I still have these pristine in the bottom of this apparently, but it's got vehicles at the bottom. So it's got the bat and the black tumbler and the bat cycle. The bat pod, I guess, is what that one's called. And then the challenge is to get it all back together the way you found it, which I was not able to manage with the Marvel sets. So yeah, that one's really neat. I've got no complaints there, really. And then I did do a review of this. I'll just bring this out for a second. This actually right now is just a box. This was the collector's edition for The Batman that came out at Walmart not too long ago, of course. And all it came with was the Blu-ray and a tin sign. And the tin sign I have on a wall over in my Batman area, so I don't even have that with this anymore. And this is one of those things I was talking about where it'll come with what's essentially the back of the box, and there's no easy way to put it anywhere in the box. So some of these I just throw away, and sometimes if I really like them, I try to come up with some way to hang on to them. This one I was able to kind of fold up the back a little bit and just put inside of this box. And I just hung on to this because it's a nice picture and it looks cool on a shelf, but it's pretty pointless, really, because it's got Batman on the front, it's got Catwoman on the other side, but the actual disc itself is in my Batman area here, and it just comes with that. I was really between that and the Steelbook. Again, I really like those. I have several. You'll see those as we go along. And that one I kind of ran into, and I say I was between both. I hadn't even seen the Steelbook yet when I bought this. It was kind of an impulse buy, and then later I saw that, and I was like, I kind of want that too. But like I said, I tend to just go for one edition. So that sits at the top. It looks like I like the Batman, and that's great, because I do. So I have lots of other special edition big oblong boxes that I've now fit into the rest of the collection since I moved things around. I'm like I said, I'm making space for more big box sets of TV shows. I'm gonna probably next month or the month after, I'm gonna go ahead and get the full box sets for all of Arrow and Supergirl and Gotham, because those are, and I was talking about this at the beginning, those have gotten pretty inexpensive, like on initial release. Arrow's not been out for very long, and I can find that all day long for between $37 and $40 for the entire series, which maybe tells you how much demand there is for that, of course. And I'm probably not going to do a lot with it, but I collect this stuff. I want to get as close to every superhero movie and thing based on a comic book and TV show that is superhero or based on a comic as humanly possible. So I want to get those and get them on my shelf. Okay, so we're just going to start now alphabetically from numbers to Z and see how far we can get. What are we at? About a half hour already? Let me see what folks are saying in the comments here. Thomas Lowe, I feel like I'm watching an auction video. Fair enough. Real Bumbles, my favorite box set might be my 007 Blu-ray box set from when Skyfall came out. I've seen that. It's neat. I don't have that myself. I have the old, like, pristine DVD collections that they did that were... I think each of them was kind of a random assortment of 007 movies. I can't remember, but those are pretty, but I'd like to upgrade those to Blu-ray at some point as well. Real quick, before, I know a couple people were complaining I was rambling at the beginning, but there's some setup that I wanted to do about how I collect and why I buy the way I buy, and I need to do a little bit more of that before we get into the numbers and into A's here. So I want to mention why you see so much DVD and I haven't upgraded to Blu-ray yet for lots of things. When I was doing stills and video for Superhero Rewind, the only way for a lot of movies that I could get video was to put a DVD in my computer. And I bought a Blu-ray player for Drive for the machine at one point and could not get, this was years ago, could not get drivers for it, could not make the thing work. And a lot of people have this problem, apparently, with Blu-ray in general, just getting it to work on desktops and laptops. So I ultimately had to kind of just make this a DVD library so that I would be able to continue to get footage for whatever movie I was talking about. And now that I've gone to a podcast format and I'm not putting anything on the screen, which I miss and I've had to quit doing for copyright and time and other reasons, now I'm starting to upgrade a little bit here and there because I don't have to make this a library of just DVDs so that I can do that. So now I can upscale and or upgrade and watch the nicer versions of things. And so years ago, I could buy, and you'll see a lot of these, just Blu-ray DVD combos, and I'd have the best of both worlds. And I could watch the thing in Blu-ray, but I could use the DVD for capture. And eventually, every company stopped doing that. For a while, it was just, I can't remember who. I think maybe Disney was the first to just stop having DVDs with Blu-ray combos. I can't remember. And there was at least one company, I'm fuzzy, that for a while stopped having the DVDs and then brought them back and then got rid of them. Pardon me. Again, I think that might have been Warner's. And so now nobody does it. And so because we've gone to 4K. So you can get a 4K Blu-ray combo, and you can buy Blu-rays and you can buy DVDs by themselves, but you can't get a DVD with something else. So you'll see some alarmingly recent movies here that I only have on DVD and go, why on earth would you want to only watch them on DVD? And it was because I was going to do rewinds on those and I needed the DVDs and couldn't figure out a way to reconcile it, where I was like, I don't want to buy the thing twice, so what do I do? So, yeah, you'll see those as we go along. I know it's going to be embarrassing for some people, but that's why I wanted to explain why I had them that way. And then there's also just some old DVDs that are kind of fun to still have around, and I might eventually upgrade everything I can upgrade, but there's some relics in here that are also kind of fun, and tons of stuff that just has never come to Blu-ray, or where the Blu-ray set, isn't any more interesting than the DVD set, and the transfer, it's not that big of a deal to even have in HD. Senior Sticks, $2 super chat. Cap, you might have to make an algorithm to do this. I don't know what he means by that, just to go through everything. By the way, I have logged all of this on Letterboxd, at least the movie side, because Letterboxd doesn't let you do it with TV shows. So if you want to see, you can go to my Letterboxd. There's a link in the description for the Superhero Rewind list, and from there you should be able to find this. You can see every movie I own. And like I said, I am 300 strong now, and let's start going through them. There's also some things in here that don't count as movies that won't be on that list. There's some documentaries and some other weird stuff that you'll see here in a second. Okay, I'm going to go through lots of this stuff much faster now. Hey, look, it's 30 Days of Night, a movie that I've never really cared that much for, but it's based on a comic book, so I own it. I bought this years and years ago. It's on DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray of that yet. Someday, when I have nothing better to buy, I will upgrade to Blu-ray. Here is 300 on DVD. That is a thing I'd like to have on Blu-ray, and there's probably a really nice version of that. Okay, this is an odd thing that was an independent release that was not released through any company or studio. This was just Adam West himself put this out, and I got this, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, maybe more. This is called Adam West Naked, and it's not pornography. Adam West is not actually naked in this. This is supposed to be like a tell-all thing about the 60s Batman series during a time where Adam West was worried that this would never come out. And of course, we've had this since 2014 now. Oh, so you know what? I probably had this even longer than what I'm saying, because I'm positive I bought this before I got the 60s Batman set. But Adam West wanted there to be more record than there had been about what went on that show. And his memory is just ridiculously crystal clear, everything he remembers about that show. And so in this, of course, he's passed away, sadly, and Adam West sits in his basement, kind of like me, but he's got a camcorder on him and a remote control where he can switch between. So he's got a multi-camera setup with a remote control, and he flips them himself, and he has no help at all. He's doing it all by himself. And then occasionally he'll like leave his basement and go out into his yard and show you like his animals, or like he'll say something to his daughter or something. And he goes through every single episode of that show, and it's his own homemade special features for 60s Batman. If you're a fan of that show and you can get your hands on this, I highly recommend it, if for no other reason than because it feels like you're spending an afternoon with Adam West just hanging out in his house. And it's really wonderful. I've never watched all of it, but I've seen quite a bit of it. I'm going to go ahead and pull down like a stack now as we go along here. Okay, so there are things, there are quite a few obscure movies and TV shows that people have sent me throughout the years, viewers on Geekvolution. Thanks very much. If you're still with us, you know who you are. And some of these things I've still never seen because I'm waiting to do a rewind, or it's a TV thing and I just haven't gotten to it. So there are things that I will talk about, or that I will show you here, that I don't have any idea what they are. Like this. This is a thing called Adventures of the American Rabbit. MGM Kids. It's a superhero thing. He's got cape. So it mentions that he's a superhero. So he's a superhero. I don't know what that is. And then we've got, let me just make sure that I'm putting this back up the way I had it. Yes. All-Star Superman. Once again, I've only got on DVD, and this was kind of a mixed bag. I have not reviewed this on Superhero Rewind yet. Tons of these animated things. I feel like I review animated movies maybe more often than anybody cares about, but there's so many, I'm trying to get a bunch of them knocked out. And I still feel like I haven't scratched the surface, particularly on DC direct-to-video animated movies and the Lego stuff, and some of those things I might eventually do 2 or 3 in one podcast. Then we have The Amazing Bulk. I do know who sent me this. This was sent by Bag Studios, who wanted me to do a blind commentary on this. I put this disc in my computer and it didn't play. So I own it, but the disc doesn't work. Yeah, but apparently this is awful and one of the hardest things anybody's ever had to sit through. But I wouldn't know because I can't watch the disc. This is technically like a TV short or like a pilot. I don't remember the story on this, if this didn't go to series or if it was just supposed to be a short subject. But anyway, it's in with my movies because it's not a whole, season of television or a miniseries or anything. This is The Amazing Screw-On Head by Mike Mignola. And I saw this one time with my stepdad, the Jeff, before I got my hands on a copy, and I remember really liking it. This is a good time to watch this again. This is real kind of October fare. And then I've got still my old DVD copy of Amazing Spider-Man. Maybe I hung on to this just in doing, and I don't know why it's in the A's, just because amazing. I guess when I changed things up and I put all the Spider-Mans together, I guess I left this up there. So you'll see all my blemishes and mistakes while we go through this too. Captain Logan doesn't understand the alphabet. I'm sure will be a comment later. So I'm going to go ahead and actually put this right now in the sell pile because I have a box set of the amazing movies that I'll show you a little bit later. And I don't really need that one anymore. Here is American Splendor, a comic book movie that was critically acclaimed when it came out, which is partly in live action, partly animation, and is apparently a real kind of introspective, quirky piece. I've never seen this, but am interested in it, and will at some point watch that. So yeah, I've not seen anything like everything I own. Oh, hey, look, here's Ant-Man. And actually, is Ant-Man Phase 2? I think it is. That should be in that set, so I probably don't need this anymore. And there was a Pym thing. Yeah, that's in Phase 2. So I'm going to go ahead and... This is just a regular bare bones Blu-ray. I don't really need that anymore, so I'll put that in the sell pile too. Here is Ant-Man and the Wasp. At some point, we start doing slip cases for nearly everything. Like, I can't buy, even direct-to-video animated movies and stuff, I can't buy anything anymore without slip cases. And I like them. They're cool. They tend to have, kind of a lot of lenticular covers and, fun glossy stuff going on the fronts. And they're real eye-catching. I'm sure that's why they sell them that way. But nearly everything seems to come out that way. But then, curiously... And I don't know if I threw something away I shouldn't have or what. I don't remember with this. But I got the Target Special Edition for Aquaman. That, speaking of lenticular covers, has a really fun cover where Aquaman is kind of morphing into Black Manta. It's like Animorphs. Look, it's like Aquaman apparently got the DNA of Black Manta. And he can go back and forth and turn into Black Manta. And this is sort of like what I was talking about earlier with my Dark Knight set, where... it could have just come out in that big booklet, and I would have been really happy with it. That's what this is, but you'd think this would have come in a slipcover, and maybe it did, like I said, and for some reason I tossed it, but I don't know why I would have done that, so I suspect not. I haven't looked through this real hard, but Target tends to put together these kinds of books that have, or they used to anyway, that are like art books, or will give you... like concept art and on-set photography and information about the making of the film, and they're really pretty. And for a while I was buying those more than I was buying steelbooks, and now I go back and forth. It really just depends on the releases and what I find first and what I get excited about. So I'm not remotely... These things fall out really easily with a thing like this, particularly if there's not a slipcover. But I tend to not feel the need to be real consistent about how I buy these things. It's really case by case, and I think a lot of movie collectors are that way. I go back and forth. Like, I think of this kind of more as a library than a collection, where I want each movie represented. But as I've gotten more special editions of things, it started to feel more like a collection. Where I start to care a little bit more about the format and how it looks than just, I have the movie. Which is why for a long time, DVD was good enough. Okay, I'll bring some more stuff down here. We're about to get into the B's, folks. Isn't it exciting? Okay, so here's Infinity War and Endgame. And Infinity War is, I think, just the basic... I mean, it looks nice, but is just the basic Blu-ray release. And then Endgame is the Target exclusive that, as I said, the 4K exclusive. And by the way, I don't have a 4K player. I don't have the best eyesight. I can't hardly tell the difference between a movie in high def and 4K. So I haven't felt the need to upgrade to everything, or upgrade everything to that, and to even buy that way all the time in the first place. Like at some point, maybe I'll get a 4K player, but I'm not sure. My wife doesn't care. I don't know if I'll ever be able to tell that much of a difference myself. But I get 4K releases when, because again, they usually have a Blu-ray. I think they always have a Blu-ray with them, honestly. And if it's a really neat looking edition that I want, I go ahead and go the extra mile and get that. But this is another of those. I'm not the biggest fan of these, where like they flip open and the discs can really easily pop out. But the art is nice. You've got Black Widow there, and who's behind here? Is that going to be Bruce Banner? Yeah, there's Bruce Banner. I like it when there's cool art sitting behind the Blu-rays. I have at least a couple of sets that do this and will have the original art of old releases behind discs, which is a really cool compromise if you decide to trade up, but you liked that art. I wish more things would do that kind of thing too. There's Hulk back there with Stormbreaker. The last time he was cool. And that also came, of course, with a slipcover. Let me know in the comments what editions of some of these you guys have, and if mine looks cooler or not as cool as yours. Oh, here's one I haven't taken out of the shrink wrap yet. I tried to get everything out of the shrink wrap for this video, and I was pretty sure I would miss a couple. This is probably the most recent movie that I bought on DVD, thinking that I was going to need it for footage. But here's Black Widow on DVD. Isn't that weird? It's just strange seeing movies in 2021, 2022 that in a bare bones DVD release. But I have it. I'll probably upgrade that at some point. Even though, I mean, that's not a priority. That movie was kind of nothing. It's fine. It's not amazing or anything. And then, I'm not looking forward to that rewind. Well, I said, I've got some big issues with it, and it's also superfluous. Anyway, here is Avengers Confidential, Black Widow, and Punisher. And I heard not great things about this, but I've not watched this. So there will be a rewind on that at some point. Here is Pamela Anderson's Barbed Wire. Yeah, I mean, if it's based on a comic, it's going to wind up back here at some point. And I don't mean to say that I'm anywhere close to owning every superhero movie ever made, but I've made a pretty big dent, particularly with the older stuff. All right, folks, let's continue, shall we? I think I've got these. Oh, you know what? I think I put that first set totally out of order here. No, just Aquaman. Okay, we're good. Okay, now we get into some exceptions for duplicates. So like I said, I'm kicking around building a collection of just Batman 89. So I have this set in both Blu-ray and DVD form, and I've had this forever. I want to say thanks to Connor for giving me his old Blu-ray set of the 90s Batman movies, because he upgraded his set to 4K or something, or got some other set he liked better, and he gave me several of his old movies that he was liquidating when he came and visited me last year, which was super cool of him, and I got a bunch of movies I've never seen from him that I need to watch at some point. So this is essentially the same set, except the Blu-ray set doesn't have the cool menus that the DVD box does. And that's one of the things that makes it difficult to want to get rid of this. I really like the menus, but all the features and everything else are the same on this. And of course the box looks, you know, identical. It's just much, much smaller. I highly recommend the double discs in this anthology for all the special features. They did a wonderful job with that. They went back and interviewed everybody they can interview, and a lot of information that I have brought up about these movies, both in rewinds and in commentaries, have of course come from these features. And then here is the DVD version of Batman the movie, the Adam West movie. This is one I would like to get on Blu-ray in the not-too-distant future. Then, like I said, the aforementioned The Batman. Then we've got Bat Kid Begins. This is a documentary about a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid who wanted to be Batman for a day. And it certainly plays a little sappy, but it's worth watching. It's pretty heartwarming, and it's a pretty well-made documentary. And I think this is still available to watch on HBO Max right now, so you wouldn't even have to buy a copy. I have, like I said, hung on to my original Batman Begins double disc because I like the menus on this, if for no other reason. And of course, that is one of the more famous, or I guess the most famous movie poster, and I always really liked it. Somebody on Patreon brought that up as one of their favorite releases. This is the Dark Knight Steelbook. I don't think I can give that up. It's just pretty. That's my review. It's pretty. I'm trying to keep the glare off of these. And again, I kind of miss discs having artwork directly on them. We seem to be doing that kind of less and less. And then I've got the 2-disc, I guess I have this on Blu-ray or on DVD also, the 2-disc Dark Knight Rises set, which I guess this is the one of the three I could probably get rid of. Not because Rises is my least favorite of the three, and I don't really care for this movie, but just because it's the least interesting of the three, and I have the cooler set with the cooler disc for that with my big Dark Knight Rises box. Okay. I've got these flipped backwards. 1 second. All right, let me pause and take a look at comments here. We're not even halfway through Batman, folks. I should have just made this the whole month. I should have said every week we're going to do a row. That's what we're doing. Okay, AMC, right on cap. I've had that DVD version since forever. Love the box and special features, as you said. Yeah, thanks for being here, AMC. That's who said that earlier. The Real Bumbles. I love the 4K of Batman 89 Returns. They look more like they did when they first came out. Interesting. They look pretty close to how I remember them in the theater. Well, I would really like to get those then, if that is the case. Robert Wild, Disney is really inconsistent with slipcovers for MCU Blu-rays. Is that true? Because it seems like every time I get one, it's got a slipcover. Daniverse, nice find, looks fun. I'm not sure which thing he's talking about. Oh, probably the Adam West Naked DVD. Robert Wild, I'm really jealous you have that. Yeah, and when you find those, they're not usually the cheapest because he didn't print very many, and I just got really lucky that I found it for a decent price when I got it and pulled the trigger on it. Like I said, that was pre-2014, so almost a decade ago. And I haven't looked for it again since then, so I don't know how expensive it is when it pops up, but I suspect it's harder to get now. So when I said that, I mean, back then, the couple that I saw were pretty high, and then somebody put up one that was cheap enough I was able to grab my hand or put my hands on it. Tyler Yates, where is the second 300? I don't have a copy of it yet, and honestly have kind of forgotten about that. So thanks for reminding me. And yeah, like I said, this is not complete. There are movies that are missing. There are sequels that are missing, and there are things that I haven't prioritized yet. And I have gotten kind of, up until recently, I got kind of lax on this for the last couple of years. I have not really actively collected DVDs or superhero DVDs and Blu-rays since like right before COVID. So there would be certain releases that I would want to get right when they came out, but for like Marvel, I pretty much kept up with. But there's a lot of things that I kind of let go by the wayside, and I haven't bought old stuff until this last month in a real long time. Let me try to fix bots again here. Oh no, they're gone. That's good. Jareth Gearhart, what's the movie you can't believe you have to own for the collection. Oh, there's a few of those. We'll run into some. Son of the Mask is certainly in there. And then there's things like, eventually I have to buy a copy of Barbie Princess of Power, which I did a review on a few years ago for a Christmas series of rewinds, but which I don't think I actually own a copy of. I think that was streaming on Netflix when I did it, maybe. But then there's stuff like Super Buddies, which I do have a copy of now. Man, I guess I'm burning calories doing this. I'm already starting to fade a little bit. I gotta get like a second wind here. Okay, let's go through some more of these. We have Batman The Dark Knight Returns Deluxe Edition. I bought the first part, I guess both, first and second part when they first came out, and then bought this as one movie and got rid of the other ones because these, you know, in a perfect world, this and Long Halloween would have been one movie in the first place, but they just don't have the money to make these longer than 85 minutes. So if they want to do a longer one, they have to get a slot for two different movies for them. But I haven't bought anything else that... Well, actually, that's not true. Long Halloween, I don't have that way. I have both of them. I don't know if they've released one disc for both of those movies where you can watch it in one fell swoop. But I do have the Death and Return of Superman box, even though I don't like that movie. I have the big special edition for that. And I haven't watched it since I got that, so I don't know if that you watch both movies together or not. I will find that out at some point, obviously. And then we have Batman Assault on Arkham, which I just have on DVD. Haven't done a rewind on that yet. Batman Bad Blood, I think this is only one of the trilogy that I have of these. The progressively gets better but still is never very good, based on New 52 Batman movies from that whole line. And I don't know why I have this one and not the other two, but eventually I'll grab those. I was making a list the other day of the movies I'm missing from that. Here is Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. I probably should have... Well, first of all, I should probably have this on Blu-ray at some point, but also I should have this and Batman vs. Two-Face together. Oh, you know what? They would be together, but I loaned it to my dad. That's why that's not in here. So yes, I do own Batman vs. Two-Face, but my dad is borrowing it right now, so that's why that's not up there. Here is the Blu-ray for Batman Death in the Family, which I didn't talk about when it came out. I was not at all impressed with this. This was a big waste of money. I don't think anybody should bother with this. And at some point, I'll have to do a rewind, I guess. Maybe I'll try to lump this in with something else, because it won't be worth talking about for more than like 15 or 20 minutes. But it was this weird sort of pseudo choose your own adventure thing where you get to decide what happens just the very end. It was really weird, and it also is, if memory serves, it's in continuity with Batman Under the Red Hood, which I just watched again for the first time in years and showed it to my son Jason, and he loved it. He thought it was one of the coolest things he'd ever seen, and he really likes Black Mask already for some reason, so that was a big treat for him, seeing that hilarious, wonderful Black Mask in that movie. But anyway, I guess that is related to this, and I was watching it, and too much of this was just flashbacks to that movie, and I'm like, I own that. Why am I watching all this footage from Under the Red Hood? It's very strange. But I don't know. It has a pretty box, so I guess if in your Blu-ray collection you really need Death in the Family to be represented as a major Batman story, there it is. You just might not want to waste your time watching it. Let's see what folks are saying here. I think I saw a super chat. Oh, Tom, thanks very much. $5 super chat. The back of the Spider-Man Homecoming slipcover is printed upside down. It's funny. Yeah, occasionally you'll see weird misprints and things like that. I'm going to bed. I'll watch the rest later. Thanks very much for popping in for a minute. Okay, moving right along. Here is Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. I'm just going to be a broken record. Here's another thing I want to get eventually on Blu-ray. I'm finally like getting out of my chrysalis where I'm like, oh, I don't have to keep these DVDs around just to take pictures out, and wouldn't it be nice to have the nicer looking versions of these? Especially now that I have Mask of the Phantasm on Blu-ray. That is a apparently gorgeous transfer. I haven't taken a look at it yet. I'm going to try to do that soon. But I have looked at Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series on Blu-ray, and those transfers are ridiculous. They're gorgeous. They're as good as they've ever looked, and they'll never look any better. It's crazy. And people have told me that apparently Batman at least even looks nicer than if you stream it on HBO Max. And I kind of want to try to look at a side-by-side comparison, even though I don't trust that with my eyes I would really be able to tell if one was that much better than the other. But I can tell well enough that it looks better than the DVDs did. So anyway, here is another kind of mixed bag animated movie, Batman Gotham by Gaslight. I've just got the regular Blu-ray release for that. Here is Batman Gotham Knight. I've still just got that on DVD. And I almost pulled the trigger on a rewind for this years ago, and then never got around to it. I've never done a vignette film for Superhero Rewind, so that'll be interesting. This is not great. It's got a couple of vignettes that I like a lot better than the others, but I have done a commentary on that when we did Batmania, but that's as much as I've ever done on this. And then here is the dreaded Batman and Harley Quinn, and I've just got the regular Blu-ray with a slipcover for that release. It has a cover that would make you think that you might be able to take it more seriously than you can, and that it might be less revolting than it is. But it is. It's pretty revolting. Okay, let me get these. I keep putting these in backwards. Okay, are we halfway through Batman? I think we are. Pardon me if I keep getting too far away from the microphone. All right. Next up, we've got Batman Hush, another movie that is not the best. Oh, really? Really? Okay, this I also have not taken out of the shrink wrap. And I guess I must have watched this on HBO Max or something when we reviewed it. But and I've not done it for Rewind, but I did a how we felt about when that came out. But I like the ending of that better than a lot of people did, because I don't think Hush is a great story in the first place, and I didn't mind what they changed too much. But it's not great. It was just more watchable than I expected it to be. Here is Batman: The Killing Joke, which I really don't like at all, but these things are kind of fun to have represented on the shelf as being major comic stories, especially when they look nice, because that's just the typical Bolin Joker cover for Killing Joke. So it's like, oh look, Killing Joke, oh look, Hush. These are important comic stories or things people care about, but they're not necessarily worth watching. Here is a fan film that a guy gave me years ago almost a decade ago now, at the Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois, which I haven't been to in a long time, but I used to go to yearly, and I keep getting in front of the microphone. And anyway, it's called Batman The Line. I think you can probably look this up on YouTube and take a look at it, but he was a Geekvolution viewer and wanted me to see this and gave me a free copy. And then here is Long Halloween, parts 1 and 2. And it's nice that they thought about what this would look like on a shelf. So it says DC on the sides, and I don't know, it kind of looks like it's meant to keep going. Like there's other things that would be on either side of it, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know if there's any other releases that go with these, but when you put them right next to each other, you've got Two-Face on one side and Joker on the other side, and it's neat that they were thoughtful enough to consider that people would have both of these in their collection, and that they should look like they're of a piece and one singular entity. And I really appreciate that quite a bit. Here is Batman Mystery of the Batwoman, the sort of but not really in continuity Batman the Animated Series movie, which I also have been threatening to review forever and just still haven't gotten to. I just have that with the original DVD release, which I remember renting at Blockbuster when it first came out on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know why they were open that day, but they were. Okay. And then, here is my steelbook for Batman Ninja. And this was I remember this being one of the early steelbooks, maybe the first, honestly, of one of these direct-to-video animated DC movies, and now they're doing them with a lot of them, or all of them. There's one for Catwoman Hunted, which I really liked the cover of and wanted to get, but it was a Best Buy exclusive. They weren't putting it on sale. I never saw it for less than $30, and I was like, I haven't even seen that movie yet. I don't know if it's any good. I don't really want to pull the trigger on that with other things that I could be buying. When you can get all of Arrow for $37 and then you have this 80-minute Catwoman movie, I don't know. And even the new Green Lantern movie that they recently put out has a steelbook. It's nuts. I feel like we're starting to get to a place where and I can't complain too much because I like a lot of these releases. So I don't want to say pandering, but it's mostly collectors buying physical media these days because people don't need physical media to enjoy a lot of these things anymore, and a lot of people don't want to spend the money or take up the space in their house. They just opt for on-demand, for streaming, of course. And so it's starting to feel a little bit like multiple covers and variant covers with comics, where you're trying to entice collectors to get like the coolest cover they can get their hands on. I don't think it's quite as bad as comics. I had this conversation with DJ at one point, and I said it's starting to feel a little bit like variant covers, and he said, well, the difference is with variant covers, they try to get collectors to buy every single copy, or maybe not copy, but every single different version of a comic book. And that's not maybe exactly what's happening with physical media, because like I said earlier, most people only have one copy of each thing they have. So maybe that isn't really happening. I wonder if there are people who collect this stuff and need every version of a film that comes out. Because you'll hear people a lot say, I've bought like whatever, series of Star Trek like 8 different times. But I assume that if somebody's bought TNG that many times, they didn't keep all the TNG, all the different sets. They just kept upgrading them. And that's kind of the difference. Here is, speaking of Adam West, Return to the Batcave, which was a TV movie that I will eventually get to on Rewind. 5 people will watch that video, but I'm trying to review all of them, and it's technically a superhero movie. This is bizarre. It's not very good, but shockingly, the flashbacks, they did a really good job of casting actors to play all the actors from 60s Batman, and the production value for that stuff is pretty good. The Adam West, Burt Ward stuff in present day, unfortunately, is pretty lame, but it's sort of a pseudo, I don't want to say biopic, but like, based on a true story, like background how a thing is made kind of movie. And I wish that they just played it straight and just made that movie instead of kind of the cutesy thing they did with this. And then we have Son of Batman. What was the other one we had? Bad Blood? Okay, maybe I've got... Because I think this went with that too, right? Son of Batman, Bad Blood, and then there was another one. Okay, so I guess I've got 2 of the 3. I can't remember which one I'm missing. Somebody will tell me in the comments. I'm missing one of these. But I also have that on DVD with the slipcover. These always look cooler than they are. And then we have Batman Soul of the Dragon, the Batman movie set in the 70s that is a lot more about Richard Dragon than it is Batman, but it's worth watching. I recommend that. That was a lot of fun, and again, haven't done a rewind on that yet, and I don't even think it's quite old enough yet, is it? Okay. I'm getting into a rhythm here. We go through a stack, and then we look at comments. And then we go through a stack. Robert Wilde, Batman and Harley Quinn is the one Batman movie I refuse to own a copy of. I've got no shame, man. I can't refuse anything. AMC, Cap, hi. Do you own the edited cut version of Return of the Joker or the uncut version? If you want to seek out the other with exclusive special features, the best release I've been able to find is a 2-pack DVD release with Mystery of the Batwoman. Thank you for telling me how to get that, because I honestly didn't know how that was released. I knew you could get it. I do not have that copy. I've seen it, but it's been a long time, and I don't own it that way. So thanks for reminding me of that, because I definitely, that is not the uncut version, and I definitely need to get that version of it at some point. Real Bumbles, if cut out the first 10 to 15 minutes of Killing Joke is a good Batman short, but that Batgirl at the stuff at the start ruins it. I've got issues with the way Killing Joke itself is translated as well, but yeah, that Batgirl stuff is awful. Really awful. Robert Wild, I have a steelbook for Justice League New Frontier on Blu-ray. It looks great. I do too. We'll get to that eventually. AMC, I was just going to ask you about Return of the Batcave. It's bizarre. Yeah, it's very strange. Batman versus Robin. That's what it was. Thanks, AMC. Let's see what other folks are saying. Nicholas Bodo, your Under the Red Hood video is my favorite of your work. Thanks very much. I appreciate you. Okay, so let's get out another stack. This is quickly turning into an endurance test. Okay. Next up, we've got Batman vs. Dracula and the Batman Superman movie. I have several compilation sets of particularly animated movies, and sometimes that's the only way these things are released, or the easiest ways to get them. And I don't know if either of these things has been released on Blu-ray. Obviously, you can watch the Batman Superman movie in episodes in the Superman animated Blu-rays, but as a movie, I don't know if that's ever been released on Blu-ray. And I hope that Batman vs. Dracula gets a release, or has gotten one. And I wish that had come with the Batman box set, which I have now. I bought that recently, too. And then we've got... Okay, so here is the Sub-Zero and Mask of the Phantasm double disc that I talked about when we did the back of the box video. And I'm on the fence about getting rid of this because I have these movies now on Blu-ray finally in the animated series set. But this is such a weird box, as we discussed on that video, that I don't know if I can part with it. Where the back of the box clearly thinks that Sub-Zero came before Mask of the Phantasm. It's not just that it's listed that way on the front. Like, they don't know which one happens first, and it's really funny. So I don't know if I can bring myself to get rid of that. And then I have Batman v Superman on just DVD, again, because I needed that for videos, or I thought I did. The director's cut I bought on digital when it first came out to do a commentary on it, which is why I don't currently have a DVD or Blu-ray for that, but I need to get on that at some point and get that on disc. And maybe there's a set that has both versions. I hope there is, because that's how I'd like to have it. And then we have one of my favorite animated movies from the last few years, Batman vs. Ninja Turtles, which I've done a rewind on. And I've got the regular Blu-ray set for that. That has action figures, which are really cool, but very expensive. And then here is the aforementioned Under the Red Hood. Want to get that on Blu-ray at some point, stat, if it's been released. I would assume so. Here are the Batman Unlimited movies. I've done commentaries on these, but I did them blind because that was Batmania, and that's the only way I've watched these. So I've only seen these while talking over them, and they're very kiddie, but the first two are cleverer than they have any right to be, and they're not about anything. They're just they just feel like kids playing with action figures, and it's quite fun. And when I eventually do a rewind on that for the 19 people that click on that video, it will be probably all three together. I think it would be ridiculous to try to do separate videos on each of these. Look at that giant mech robot. I see that super chat. I'll get to it right after the stack. Thanks very much. Here is Batman Year One, which I bought when it first came out just on DVD. And it's funny, I'm doing kind of mini reviews of each of these as I go through. But of course, I was about to say I've reviewed this. I don't think I have. I don't think I have done a rewind on this movie. But this is my go-to example for how not to do an adaptation straight, because it's too much like the comic and doesn't take the film media enough into account. There are some releases that they've done. I think Year One is one of them, maybe, that they've done with DC stuff, particularly Batman things, where they'll give you the trade of the book that the movie is based on, and the book, and then the movie also. And those are kind of cool looking. I have all those things already in trade or singles, so I haven't felt the need to buy any of those, and they wouldn't fit great here. but I just wanted to mention that those exist, and they're kind of neat, some of them. Here's Big Hero 6, which I also only have on DVD and will upgrade at some point. I'm just going to need to go on a bit of a shopping spree at some point for some upgrades. Oh, we're almost to the C's, folks. Sorry, guys, just takes a minute to get my comments up here. Robert Wilde, Batman vs. Dracula should have been included with the Blu-ray of the show. I know, right? Austin Harn, hi! Have you seen Up, Up, and Away? It's a Disney Channel original movie. They have it on iTunes for $5. I have not seen that. I think I have a copy of that. Maybe. Unless I'm thinking of something else. No, I don't see anything called that. Maybe that's only been released on digital. I don't know how recent that is. I had a flash to something, and maybe it was something different than what you're talking about. But no, I've not seen that. I am not familiar with that. Okay, this is in the superhero collection just because it's about Michael Keaton playing an actor who played a superhero like he did Batman. Here's Birdman, and it maybe doesn't belong here, but I've always thought it would be kind of fun to do a rewind on this anyway. So I might at some point. I really like this. I've got like a lot of people issues with the ending, and there's that question of, okay, it's about pretentiousness, but is it also too pretentious itself? I haven't seen it since release, which was back in 2014, I think, which I did with the late Tim Lyons, rest in peace, and that was one of the last things we reviewed together, I think. No, we probably did 2 or 3 other things after that, but yeah, what was that, 14, 15? I forget now. Anyway, but yeah, so that's in here for no good reason. I have this. It's Birds of Prey, and the fantabulous whatever of one whatever. It's just on DVD. It's like a crushed box. I think I bought it that way. I don't think I brought it home and crushed it, but I might be suppressing that memory. I'm not sure. At some point, I'll get this on Blu-ray, maybe. I don't care. Okay, and then this is a movie somebody sent me. I don't know if this is technically a superhero movie, but sometimes stuff winds up in this collection because it's close and because viewers will send things that are kind of close. But anyway, this is Black Dynamite. I've never seen that. I should watch it at some point. Here is my Target exclusive for Black Panther. We're past Batman finally. This one's really pretty. Just the art here. And again, it's one of these fold-out booklets. Oh, I guess it doesn't keep folding out, though. See, these I don't mind, where it's just a disc, and then there's a booklet inside, because those don't tend to pop out as much. So yeah, for Marvel, these are the things I tend to go to. At least for movies that I like, or movies where they just look too pretty. I have a couple for things that I'm lukewarm on, or aren't my favorite movies, but just had really good releases and I couldn't help myself. Like, I mentioned I bought Thor, Love and Thunder, and because I got a good deal on it. I didn't have to have that right away, and I got just the regular Blu-ray release for that, but it has a gorgeous steelbook, and I don't like that movie very much, but I almost couldn't help myself with that because it just looks really cool. Here is all the Blade movies on one of these like 4 film favorites discs. I don't have a lot of these, and I'm getting more and more to where I would rather have individual releases in like the coolest boxes if they're movies I really like. So the Blade movies at some point I'll probably upgrade to Blu-ray, but this was just an easy way to have them on hand when I was reviewing them. Here is Damon Wayans' Blank Man. I don't know if this has ever been released on Blu-ray. Maybe it has, but I've had this forever. And now I say forever. Actually, I think this was sent by a viewer. Maybe David Crabtree, who's sent me a few movies here and there. I think maybe he sent me this. I can't remember. But I've had that a little while anyway. And then here is the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I've done a rewind on DVD. Here is the Blu-ray for the 1990 Captain America. Look, it's the collector's edition for Captain America. We're doing everything we can to make this movie look way better than it is. But there it is. I've still never seen these, and I'll probably do a rewind at some point, because these are technically movies, they're TV movies, and they weirdly came out either the same year or 2 years apart. I forget. Oh, and I didn't realize Christopher Lee was in this. That's fun. Anyway, these are the Captain America TV movies, which are called Captain America and Captain America 2, Death Too Soon, where he's not a super soldier and just riding around on a motorcycle. Literally all I know about that, and apparently I also now know that Christopher Lee is the villain. I wonder if he's the villain in both, because this says featuring Christopher Lee as the villainous Miguel. Oh, maybe that's just for the second movie. Okay, interesting. So, at some point, I'll take a look at those. And curious to see what the transfer looks like. This is... Somebody asked earlier what my favorite thing in the collection was. This is up there now. And I bought this for my wife for her birthday because she loves this movie. This is one of her favorite movies of all time. And I enjoy it a lot too. We watch it constantly. This is an obscure movie starring Alan Arkin that I talk about all the time. Probably more than anybody else on YouTube. This came out in 1986. It was an Australian-American movie that is a superhero musical, also with Christopher Lee as the villain. Weird that those showed up right next to each other. Called The Return of Captain Invincible. And my old copy of that is also down here in my cell pile because now I have this and I don't need it anymore. But the slipcover has a really cool new artist, I almost said artist rendering, but piece of cover art. And then when you pull it out, you get what was the old cover for that movie, the old movie poster. And now it's on Blu-ray. Now it's got a bunch of special features. It's got both cuts. And it's weird because I didn't realize, and I meant to review this when it came out. I'll try not to talk about this too long. Maybe at some point I will go ahead and talk about this after I see all the special features, because I've looked at about half to two-thirds of it all now. If you like this movie, or if you know nothing about it and you want to be surprised by madness and hilarity, just get this sight unseen. It's wonderful. This was released by Severin, and they do apparently a lot of these obscure releases for movies that not a lot of people care about. So I don't know how easy it is to get this, honestly. I pre-ordered it, and I don't know if you can just go to Severin and order one, or if this was a real limited run. I haven't looked into that because I got it right away. But anyway, apparently what was released in the theater is not what I saw for years and years after my uncle gave me a copy of this movie. So the director's cut was the only thing that was put on DVD. And when this came out, I was excited because it made a big deal out of, oh, there's a director's cut. But the deal is, the actual cool thing, and I haven't watched it yet, is that the theatrical version is on here. So we watched the director's cut thinking it was a version we hadn't seen, and it's like, wait, this is exactly what we're used to seeing. And then we listened to the director's commentary. There are two commentaries for this movie, which is cool. And he talked about the gutted theatrical version that apparently is missing a lot of stuff and is awful, according to him anyway. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know about that. And that's also on here. So that's cool. But there's interviews with the director and other folks. And then there's two discs. And then there's a third disc that is a music CD, and apparently they finally went to the masters of these of the songs from this movie and put out the soundtrack, which I never ever thought would happen. This is like a holy grail thing. It's just a big deal because it even got made, and I'm so excited to have it in the collection. And it made it a lot easier to buy for my wife this year. Oh boy, was she excited about that. All right. Just a minute to get these put back up here, and then I'll take a look at comments again. And after I do that, I think I'm going to take just a real quick break and come back and see how much more of this we can run through before we call it a day. But we are pretty obviously not going to get through the entire collection tonight. So I think it's pretty safe to say that this is going to be at least 2 streams, and I'll do this again next week. When did we start? At 10:15. So we're about an hour and 15 minutes in. Let me check my timestamp here. Yeah. So I will go for... I originally said we'll see how far I can get in 2 hours. I may go a little bit longer than that tonight and try to get through more than a row. Birdman was 2014. Thanks, Nicholas. AMC, Cap, speaking of the DC direct-to-video movies, did you ever own any of the releases with the collectible figures? I used to love hunting those down. I didn't. I did have a couple for the Lego movies, but I actually gutted those and let my kids have the minifigs. So in the collection, they're... I know, I'm a horrible collector. In the collection... But I only bought those for my kids. They show up as just the Blu-rays. But I have the minifigs somewhere. Let's see. Nicholas, speaking of obscure, there's a new Diabolic movie out. Is that right? I knew they were making a TV show at one point. So I wonder if it's like the pilot for that, or if there's even another Diabolic project. Robert Wild, I thought this was going to turn into a 24-hour live stream. It sure feels like it's going to, doesn't it? And I've been trying to rush through this as much as I can, but I don't want to just be like, here's this thing, and then set it down. I'm trying to make this as interesting as I can without also going too long on anything. Jareth Gerhardt, have you seen any of the Chucky TV series, Cap? Yeah, I saw the first couple episodes and liked it fine, and I just keep forgetting to go back to it. So I need to do that. I think another season is about to happen, maybe. I think I heard that. But anyway, guys, give me 2 to 3 minutes, if you would. I'm going to take a real quick break and come right back and see how much more of this I can knock out tonight. Thanks for bearing with me. Hope you're having a good time, and I'll be right back. Okay, folks, I'm back, and let's get another snack, shall we? Okay, coming up next, we've got the collector's edition, apparently, for Captain America Civil War. I'm hesitating because it says collector's edition, but it really looks like just the Blu-ray release. But then as I'm looking at it, this apparently was a Target exclusive, and I'm just used to those. Maybe they changed later because this was a little bit earlier than a lot of the booklet releases that I have. I'm used to those being a little bit heftier and coming with art books and things. This has exclusive digital bonus content only at Target. That's a little lame. The cover's kind of cool though, with the red on one side and the blue on the other for the two opposing sides. And then, oh, you know what? I'm remembering this now from when I bought this. I don't know that I've ever looked at the special features from this. This apparently has a Blu-ray 3D disc. When we tried to do that for 5 minutes. I wonder if they ever make those anymore. And does anybody have a 3D player anymore? Has anybody in the comments ever looked at a 3D disc and looked at anything on a 3D player? I'm just curious because, like, I can't see in 3D. So, you know, it wouldn't matter if I tried to look at it, but I wonder if anybody has done that and enjoyed it. But this was kind of cool because the slipcover has everybody in costume, in their masks if they have masks, and then they're off when you take the slipcover off. And then we have Captain Marvel, which is the Target exclusive. Here's that stupid alien cat that ruined Nick Fury's background. Thanks, cat. And there's Talos in human form. Look at that. Isn't that exciting? Doesn't that make you want to watch a movie? I mean, he's fine, but I just think it's really weird. Just put him in his... Why? I don't think I've looked real close at this before either. Why isn't he in his Skrull get-up? Like, if you haven't seen this movie, you're just like, look, a human guy! Okay. And then... Like, this is a pretty standard special edition release from some of the others we've looked at, but it looks nice. And it, too, has a booklet that I have not really looked at too much. And I don't love this movie. I guess I just bought this because at the time I was going after a lot of these Target exclusive releases. And I don't always pull the trigger right away anymore on brand new stuff. Sometimes I'll wait for it to go down in price. Not because... For no other reason than I don't look at these things that, you know, right away. So it's like, why spend 25 or 30 bucks if it's just going to sit on a shelf just to have it, like, right now? And lately I've started buying things online a little bit more often. Here is Catwoman on DVD, the earliest release of this, and hilariously I apparently have the full screen version for some reason, so even though it's Catwoman, I'll upgrade that at some point. Why do I have the full screen version of this? When I did the rewind, did I watch this in full screen? I probably did. That sounds like something I would have done back then. I did get Catwoman Hunted. This just came out. Have not watched that yet. Hoping to do that soon. Curious about it. It also has Black Mask. Jason's first question when this came in the mail was, oh, is he funny in that movie? I don't know, Jason. We'll find out. Hopefully that's kid-friendly enough that he can watch it with me. Well, he's pushing 13. He'll probably be fine with whatever that is. And then here's Chronicle on DVD. That's a thing I definitely want to upgrade to Blu-ray at some point. Comic Book the Movie, starring Mark Hamill with Kevin Smith. Because obviously Kevin Smith's going to be in a movie like this called Comic Book the Movie. This was apparently a thing that I've never seen this, that was shot entirely at a Comic-Con. I think maybe San Diego or New York, one of the others, or one of the two. And it's double disc, surprisingly. I guess it's got a special features disc. So there might be some fun things there. I think Stan Lee is in this. Hugh Hefner is in this. That's weird. Because remember when Stan Lee did a cameo where Tony Stark thought he was Hugh Hefner, or maybe he was Hugh Hefner, nobody really knows? I wonder if that's why they did that. But probably not, because I think this came out way, way before that. I'm looking for a date here. I'm not sure when this was made, but I think it was probably mid to late 2000s. I'm still not seeing a date for this. I would have to look it up. If somebody wants to tell me in the comments what date that came out, that would be awesome, because I need to keep rolling here. But I want to say this was like 05, 06. Maybe, something like that. This is not technically comic book, but it kind of went with this collection. Here is... Well, I think the second movie actually is, so that would make sense. But this is both Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, which I'm sad to say I still have never seen the original Conan movie. I haven't seen either of these, so I will have to do that at some point. And I know so little about this that I didn't even realize that Schwarzenegger made that second movie. I thought that was some other actor. I didn't know he did both of those, so I'll have to see that at some point. Here is Stan Lee's The Condor. That's some animated thing that I've never seen. I've got that on DVD. Here is Condor Man, one of the only PAL region discs that I have. Well, I guess this says Universal, suitable for all. Not Universal like the company, but like Universal in that you're supposed to be able to put it in any player. That didn't work for me. This was sent by one of our viewers years ago because he wanted me to do a rewind for this, which I did, and if memory serves, I had to change the region on software on my computer to even play it. So that was a weird one. But yeah, this is a very strange movie that was really riffing a lot on the Christopher Reeve movies. And then we have Constantine on DVD, which I also really want to get on Blu-ray at some point, and that just got confirmed for sure to get the long in development hell sequel. And that's going to be really interesting if that indeed comes to fruition. Okay, are we almost done with this row? We're getting close, folks. I could have been more prepared and had just stacks of movies already pulled down, but then there'd be just a big wall of bookcases behind me, and I'd probably knock it all over. So even though this is taking longer, it's probably the only way to do this. Anyway, okay, so now we get into... We're getting close to the D's now. Other Constantine things. Here's... Constantine City of Demons on 4K for whatever reason. I've got the 4K for that with the slipcover, and I remember liking this movie a lot when we did the How We Felt About for that. Here is the new Constantine House of Mystery, which is a collection of DC Showcase animated shorts, and the choices for these were weird. I haven't watched this yet. This just recently came out. And this is rated R, which I didn't realize. But yeah, this has a short for Kamandi, the Last Boy on Earth. That's a choice. And The Losers, which is really interesting. And there's a Blue Beetle short. So that'll be shorts of things I'm not even all that familiar with. But I'll take a look at that at some point. Here's Cowboys and Aliens, one of those technically based on a comic book things. I think this is one of those cases where it was a comic book that was kind of made hoping to be a movie, maybe. I don't remember, but it technically kind of counts. I've gotten a little bit looser over the years where I'm trying to own as much of everything based on a comic as possible, but we get all these movies that somebody basically storyboards as a comic book first and maybe puts out for sale or maybe doesn't, and then when it becomes a movie, it's like, does that really count as an adaptation? So I'm never sure if I need to bother with all of that stuff in the collection. I have the first Kingsman movie, which is which is a weird series because it's simultaneously developed as a comic book by one guy and then as a movie by another guy. Like, does that count as adaptation? I don't know. Like, Martin Millar is doing the comics, and then I'm blanking on his name right now. Matthew Vaughn, I guess, is doing the movie. So it's like, does that count? Should that be in there? I don't know. I've got the first one, but I haven't bothered with anything past that yet. And then you get weird things like that Noah's Ark movie, which was not a comic that came out in the first place, but was like they made a comic and they made a movie. Like, does that count? I don't know that it should. So I didn't bother buying that. Here is some superhero thing called Cross. I don't know anything about this except that it's got Michael Clark Duncan in it and Vinnie Jones. I've never seen that. Here is the old double disc for The Crow. That's one of those really early DVDs that's in a real thick box and looks like they probably just translated the Laserdisc to DVD. I imagine that's what happened here. And once again, another thing that I really need to get on Blu-ray at some point. Here are all of the Crow sequels on one disc, or at least in one box. Yeah, one disc. Here is the aforementioned Danger Diabolic, which had a really nice DVD release, but I hope to get the Blu-ray for that as well. And that also got a music score release a few years ago. I think the original masters were maybe lost for that, and somebody went in and did the score verbatim with a new recording, if memory serves, or maybe it was like a rock band that did it. I can't remember now, but it's on Spotify and it sounds great. And if you like that movie, you should check that out. And then here are the DC superhero girls movies, which my kids have seen some of and enjoyed. I haven't just sat down and watched these, but there's 4 of these, and I only have 3 of them right now. But there's Hero of the Year and Intergalactic Games and Legends of Atlantis. And 2 of those 3 are in the shrink wrap. So I guess my kids have either only watched the first one or streamed some of that on HBO Max. Okay, let's see what folks are saying. Thomas Lowe, Constantine became the new face of DC movies. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. AMC, funny Black Mask is the best Black Mask. I read Gearhart. I also have Catwoman on full screen. Robert Wilde, Catwoman Hunted is okay. It has fun moments. There are some adult moments, but it's PG-13. Nothing too bad. Sadly, Black Mask isn't as funny. Oh, but they tried to make him still somewhat funny? That's amusing. Pardon me. Okay, well, hopefully that is a fun movie, and thank you for your opinion on that. AMC also says, Cap, don't quite quote me on this, but I think that Constantine movie explains the minutia of how New 52 DC film transitions to the Man of Tomorrow universe. Yeah, I read the synopsis on the back of the box, and it said it was a follow-up to the Justice League Dark movie that they made that ended the New 52 universe. And I was like, really? They did a cap-off? They did a sequel to the end of that? So I am curious to watch it for that. I'll try to get to those new movies pretty soon. And I think the Super Sons movie just dropped this week, or maybe that comes out on... Maybe that came out on digital already and hasn't on physical yet. I'm not sure. But I heard that came out already. Here is the theatrical version of Daredevil, which I guess I bought on full screen back in the day. And then I've got, of course, the director's cut, which is not in full screen. And I always liked this release. I'm sure that's on Blu-ray too, and I might get that eventually. But I always thought this looked cool. Then we get into Deadpool. Here is, and there are so many releases of the Deadpool movies. I have the original regular Blu-ray, which has a good slipcase, and then the Deadpool 2 Super Duper cut, which kind of reminds me a little bit of a Target exclusive because it's got a book, but this is not a art booklet. It is a pseudo children's book. It's a not suitable for children's book, and I did look at that and I remember that being kind of amusing. I've always said Deadpool 2 has not had its definitive cut yet. I do appreciate that this release has both the theatrical and the director's cut, and then I also, of course, have Once Upon a Deadpool, and if you put the three of those together, bits and pieces of all of those, you would get the definitive cut of that movie, even though I become more and more lukewarm on that as it has gone along. Once Upon a Deadpool, I also have not pulled out of the shrink wrap, I just realized. I did see that in the theater, and it was a fun cut, and it was actually kind of worth going to the theater for, which I was surprised by, and I enjoyed the way they turned it into a PG-13 movie, but it still wasn't exactly appropriate for kids. They were kind of making fun of the rating system with it, and that was enjoyable. But anyway, so yeah, that's a lot of Deadpool 2. And part of the reason I haven't pulled the trigger on a rewind for that yet is just, I feel like I would need to do 2 or 3 weeks of note-taking for that, because I'm not going to do a separate podcast for each version of that movie, but there are 3 different versions of it, and I would feel I need to go back and look at all 3 of them. Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons. Is this in the shrink wrap? Yes, it is. I haven't watched this yet either. This came out a couple of years ago now, and I bought it, and I totally forgot about it, so I'll watch that at some point. Defendor, with Elias Koteas and Woody Harrelson. I really like this movie a lot. I haven't seen it since the rewind. I should watch it again, but I have that on DVD. Here is the old Dick Tracy DVD. I bet that looks really good on Blu-ray, and I should probably look for that and try to do that at some point as well. Oh, I flipped these around. Okay. Folks, we finished the row. I should have just made this the 24-hour stream. Next week, quick plug, I am going to be watching episodes of DCAU shows, the DC Animated Universe, Batman Animated Series, Superman, Justice League, etc. And I'm gonna do it for an entire day, 24 hours. And I am still taking suggestions, so go on the community tab on YouTube for the post that I made for that, and put in an episode request, and it might get watched that day. But I am starting to wish that we had just done this, because I don't think it's going to take that long, but it's taken a while. Let's see. It is already midnight. How long have I been streaming here? 15 minutes gets us to 2 hours. Again, I may go a little bit longer than that if folks are willing to stick around somewhat past midnight. The Universe says reorchestrated. It is Annio. Okay, good to know. He's talking about Diabolic. Okay, here is the Doctor Strange regular Blu-ray. I always really liked this release with the funky back of the box, which we talked about in the back of the box video, with the words being all I'm starting to fade. We've been talking a long time. All messed up like the multiverse, and it's got a cool lenticular thing in the front as well. And then here is the Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme DVD, which I used for the rewind on that. Here is I guess a bootleg copy of Dr. Mordred. Look, it's Dr. Mordred Uncut, the nude edition. I don't know if this is what Eric and I used when we did a review for Dr. Mordred, or if we watched a different copy. I can't remember, but I think this has since then gotten a real release, so I should probably get that at some point. But this was Jeffrey Combs in a project that started as, this is what, early 80s? That started as a Doctor Strange movie, and then they lost the rights midstream, and they had to turn it into something else. Here's From Hell, which is based on a comic book, and a movie that, if I have seen, it's been so long I don't really remember it, but I just have a basic DVD copy of that. Here's the DVD copy of Fant4stic. Once again, I was buying discs thinking I was going to need them for rewind. Or, sorry, DVD discs, I should say. Here is Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. I don't know why I have these flipped. Okay, I'm going backwards here. We're at the F's and then we'll go into the E's. Sorry, I started this stack backwards, but whatever. So, Fantastic Four, and I did this with a few things where, of course, I'll make exceptions where I have multiple copies of a thing if there are multiple cuts. So here is just the standard DVD of Fantastic Four, the theatrical version, and then here's the extended cut, which just has a couple of scenes added back in, but scenes that I think the movie needs, particularly with Johnny Storm. And this is in the shrink wrap, which is weird because I know I'd watched this. So what did I use when I watched the extended cut? I think maybe I borrowed a copy from Vince and then bought it later. Maybe that's what I did back when I did the rewind. I forget now. That's crazy that that's in the shrink wrap. But it has a scene where I talked about this in the rewind, where Johnny Storm is in a car with Dr. Doom, and it really needs that scene. And they shouldn't have cut that. And then here is the Power Cosmic edition of the Rise of the Silver Surfer DVD. That's on 2 discs. I bought the special edition of Eternals from Target because I just really liked the front of the box where it looks like the ring on the back. I haven't watched this since the theater. This movie is not sticking with me real well. I remember liking it better than a lot of people did. Whoa. And now we're losing the disc. Oh, okay, so the 4K in Blu-ray pops out of the bottom of this, and then it has these cards that just bounce around. So this does not have an art book or anything, but it has... Oh, these are weird. Okay, so it has just these little standee things that I guess if you really wanted to, you could put on a base and just show them off. I always wonder when things like this come out if anybody ever actually does that. Like maybe if a kid gets a hold of it, that would be fun. But I think most of us probably just go, yeah, here's the thing I have. And you're trying to keep it, 100% good condition. So these things end up being kind of frivolous and pointless, and then you just go, isn't it neat that I have that? So yeah, this is one of those cases. But it's a little bit bare bones, but it looks really pretty, so I am glad that I have that. Elektra was another thing that I have to have 2 copies of, because there's the theatrical version and then the director's cut. And that is one of those director's cuts that is really not that necessary to watch over the theatrical version. I have a copy of Dredd on Blu-ray. For some reason, it also comes with Nicolas Cage's Drive Angry, which I've never seen. And I think I just found this cheap somewhere at some point. Was like, hey, I need Dredd in my collection, so I bought that. I might at some point see if there's a cool special edition for Dredd, but at least it's on DVD, or on Blu-ray. And that, it's weird how long it's been since that came out, because I've meant to do a rewind for that forever. Yeah, I am all over the place here. Let me just get this in order here real quick. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. Just check comments real quick, and then we'll go through at least one more stack here. Thank you guys for sticking around. We actually have a few more viewers than we did a little while ago. Nicholas Bob says he's willing to stay up a while. Danaverse is heading out. Thanks for being here. And says Drive Angry is a fun movie. I may check that out at some point. AMC, what's insane about that Deathstroke movie is that it was put out by the CW. I didn't know that. Although it's not the Arrowverse version and bloody as all heck, still a good Deathstroke piece, though. Interesting. I didn't hear anything about that when it came out. Okay, I'm going to do at least this last stack, or one more stack. So here is just the DVD, regular bare bones for Ghost Rider. Same for Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Here is Ghost World, which is based on a comic book, a thing I've never seen. Here is a movie that somebody sent me in the mail years ago called G-Men from Hell. I know nothing about this, but it's apparently also based on a comic. Here is the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Nobody's favorite movie, Green Hornet with Seth Rogen. Kind of not the right approach for this, but better than it had any right to be. And another movie that I have meant to do a rewind on for a good long time. Here is, of course, Green Lantern, just the bare bones DVD. I mean, do you really need anything else for this? I'll eventually get Blu-rays for all this stuff, probably, but I don't know when I'm going to go back to that. And then this is the brand new Green Lantern Beware My Power movie with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's always been kind of my favorite Green Lantern, so I'm looking forward to watching this. But I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if this is any good or not. But it just came out real recently, and that's there just because of the alphabet. So here is Green Lantern Emerald Knights, and I want to say that both of these, that and First Flight, are Nathan Fillion voicing Green Lantern. Maybe they aren't both. Emerald Knights is, though. Anyway. And I've actually never seen either of those. I guess I haven't seen any standalone animated Green Lantern movie, and there are 3 of them now. So, if they make a 4th by the time I finally get to those, maybe we'll just do a whole month of them. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call it quits here tonight, I think, guys, because it's late, and like I said, this has been kind of an endurance test, so I'm going to do at least one more of these, obviously. We'll see how quickly we can roll through the rest of this. It took a while to get through the big Marvel box sets and all the Batman and stuff, but we made it to the letter, the beginning of G, so we should be able to at least get through the superhero movies next time. I will read the patrons' favorite box sets when we get to the end of this. So if you are a Rewind producer and you want to leave me your tweet-length response of your favorite release, feel free to go ahead and do that before next week. And like I said, this may take one more even. We may have to do one video for TV because it's just, I don't know, it's 300 movies and a bunch of TV shows. It's taken a while to get through it, but it's fun. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm glad that I'm finally doing this. And if you would like to become a patron and a Patreon producer and help us out here with Superhero Rewind and be involved in the in the behind the scenes a little bit with the show, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution. The $10 tier gets you access to that, and you get your name read at the end of every episode. You get to hang out with me about once a month, and you get to go to the Discord and also help us decide what movies we're doing for review on Superhero Rewind, although I guess I'm reviewing fewer movies this month than I thought I was going to, but hopefully I'll be able to at least do something pseudo-horror related by the end of the month. I'm going to try to put together a poll for movies that fit more or less in that category, possibly including even that Constantine animated movie. Ghost World is great, says Nicholas. Robert Wild says First Flight was good. And AMC says Beware My Power was written by John Semper Jr., so that's going to be something. I'm excited to take a look at that now, even more so then. That's hilarious. Semper made the 90s Spider-Man series, which I've talked about at length on Rewind and talked about him, and he did a run of Cyborg during Rebirth. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to say thanks, as always, to all of our producers. My list is over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my microphone, because I don't have a multi-camera setup at the moment, and I'm going to read those names down right now. It's going to be awkward, but we're going to do it. Theoretically. And thanks once again to our Patreon producers, including Blake, Chewbacca's Lover, David Crabtree, Elliot Slater, Gooster123, Hot Soup, Joe Turner, Joe Gira, Joshua Gilisano, Matt Bat 68, Michael Martin, Stone Gassman, Super Billy, The Day Ghost, Thomas Edgehill, Adam March, Checkers the Inventor, Damon Begay, Jacob Schneider, Kareem Roberts, Matthew Brody, Michael Gulick, Michael Rodriguez, and of course, the Jones triplets, Nathan Jones, Thorne Jones, and Wendell Jones, no relation, Zach, and that's everybody. Thanks again, folks, for watching. I'll be back again next week with part 2 of my insane superhero and comic book movie collection. And that's it. Join us again for more live shows here on Geekvolution this week. And see you next Monday. Bye, everybody.